Akademiks can't ride no.
So let me pull up my list here. So we're gonna react to, and I do have the lawsuit as well. We're gonna review that too. We're not gonna do like 3-4 hours on Diddy tonight. Pause. You know, even though that's a nigga who loves to have day-long freak offs. We're gonna get straight to the bullshit. There was a press conference scheduled and actually done today by a new victim, allegedly the 11th victim that has, or the 11th alleged victim. And again, when we talk about criminal cases versus civil cases, we have to point out, I could just get up and say Diddy fucked me and file a lawsuit. Doesn't mean it's true. However, when it comes to Diddy, it's one of those situations where there is smoke, perhaps it might be a little bit of fire, okay? So we're going to actually watch this press conference, which, by the way, I was actually shocked that it took this long for Gloria Allred. If you guys don't know who this person is, give me one second. If you guys, that's not it? Oh, here. If you guys don't know who this woman who is in this, is this blue or this purple? I'm a little colorblind. This woman has been known, you know, and I'm going to be respectful, as the person who represents a lot of victims of high-profile individuals. She has gained a reputation by constantly speaking out, doing press conferences, making it aware and known to these people. From what I know, and I could be incorrect, I don't think she's a criminal attorney, but she definitely does deal with PR and also civil cases regarding people who are trying to sue people, again, for money. We're going to watch this press conference. It's about, is this in full? No way, this is like 30 minutes. What? We're see if we can speed this up a little bit, and let's get through this, and I'll show you guys the paperwork on this new victim. Again, by the way, I'll give you the synopsis. There's a woman who claims that her life has been tormented and tortured by what she experienced at the hands of Diddy. She claims that Diddy and also a bodyguard had sex with her against her will. She's claiming sexual assault. She is saying that it's ruined her life. And even though it's over a decade, she's saying it still haunts her to this day. Claims she can't get in a regular relationship. Claims her life has been effed up ever since Diddy hit her with the Johnson & Johnson baby oil and that goddamn, you know, bad boy, take that cock, okay? So let's listen in first, and again, I do have the lawsuit queued up for y'all, okay? Let's go listen.
Recording in progress.
Thank you for coming today. I'm attorney Gloria Allred, and with me is our client, plaintiff Thalia Graves. Today we filed a lawsuit in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, for our client, plaintiff Thalia Graves, who is given permission to use her name. The case number of the 26...
Reason why that's important, there is a Jane Doe. I think maybe two Jane Does. I know Christina McKinney is named. There is a Jane Doe that's named. Again, if you don't know, when you file these lawsuits are embarrassing in nature for someone who could be potentially a real victim. You don't have to file with your name. You could file as an anonymous person. Obviously, a jury is going to see your face, and the person who you're accusing, even though it's not criminal, they're going to have to face the person who's suing them. So you don't get to sue somebody completely anonymous, but in at least the public filings, you could claim what's Jane Doe, or if you're a guy, John Doe. One person has claimed Jane Doe, which, by the way, Diddy's lawyers has successfully defeated that via a motion that the judge agreed with, to say that potential victim has to use their real name. Why? In that particular case, people, Diddy made the argument that this person already has a public-facing image, and some people believe that was Thierry Marie. Again, we haven't verified that yet. However, the one case, or the case that I know about with the Jane Doe, Diddy's lawyers did successfully file a motion and was granted in their favor that you can't just sue this guy anonymously, right? Because imagine, like, with all due respect, like Tiana Trump suing Selena Powell. So, like, come on, bro. You know what I mean? So again, at the end of the day, I think the majority of people who are going to file lawsuits, they want to stand behind it. And by the way, you hear Gloria Allred saying her client, which is Thalia Graves, which is the woman standing to the left of her, has agreed to share her name.
Page complaint is 1:24-CV-07-201. In her lawsuit, Thalia, through her attorneys, sues Sean Diddy Combs, also known as the defendant, and another individual and other entities. The complaint alleges in part, in the first cause of action, that defendant Combs and another defendant committed a, quote, violation of New York City Victims of Gender-Motivated Violence Protection Act by viciously and violently forcing sexual contact, oral sex, and sexual intercourse on the plaintiff, end quote. In addition, the complaint
It was very interesting. This is a minute in, and you can see the victim or alleged victim here. Again, I'm going to just use the term alleged victim just to be fair. This doesn't mean I'm defending anyone, but we have to remember what we're talking about. She's crying already. I'm not going to lie.
Alleges in the second cause of action that defendant Combs and another defendant committed a violation of New York civil rights law, quote, section 52-B, end quote, by, quote, raping plaintiff and recording it. Defendants caused plaintiff to be depicted in a video image, unclothed and with intimate body parts exposed, and engaged in sexual conduct with another person, end quote. The lawsuit also alleges that, quote, defendant Combs and another defendant published and or disseminated the videos without plaintiff's knowledge or consent. On information and belief, defendants have continued to disseminate the video, including by selling it as pornography through the present, end quote. In our, we ask that, quote, defendant should be ordered for and brought all copies of the...
This is a stream right here. This isn't me. I don't know why it's so bad. Maybe I could go to live from Fox.
We'll take you now out.
Here we go.
Intimate videos of plaintiff, end quote.
Here we go. This works.
We also allege in the third cause of action that Combs and another defendant committed a violation of New York City. Disclosed an intimate image of plaintiff without her consent, end quote. As a result of these and other allegations in our complaint, we request that judgment be entered against defendants as follows. Awarding compensatory damages for all physical injuries, emotional distress, psychological harm, anxiety, humiliation, physical and emotional pain and suffering, family and social disruption, and other harm in an amount to be determined at trial. Awarding punitive damages in an amount to be determined at trial. Awarding attorneys' fees and costs pursuant to any applicable statute or law, including under New York City Administrative Code, Section 10-1104, New York Civil Rights Law, Section 52-B2, New York City Administrative Code, Section 10-180, and any other applicable statute or law. We're also seeking additional relief that the court may deem just and proper. As a result of what is alleged in the lawsuit, Thalia alleges that she has suffered and continues to suffer among other damages, emotional harm, including mental anguish, emotional distress, humiliation, and physical damage. In a few minutes, Thalia will speak to the impact and
Try not to pause it. But I wonder with the humiliation part. I don't think there was a public element of the humiliation. We've never heard of this girl. I don't think that he's ever told the public about whatever he may have done with her or may have not done. Granted, I'm not saying it validates her claims. But I'm wondering, obviously she's alleging that Diddy showed a video of her having sex to other people, and apparently the sex was non-consensual, according to her. But I feel like if there was a humiliation effect in this might be this moment. Like, you're doing a press conference that is now putting you, like, the only time we've ever seen you in history, you're now aligned with Diddy. Now, she could have filed this lawsuit, not done a press conference. She could have filed this lawsuit as Jane Doe. But this press conference is happening, so, okay.
Harm that she has suffered and continues to suffer. She will take this courageous step because she thinks that it is important that the public understand the impact that rape and other criminal acts have on those who have been victimized. Often victims do not speak publicly about the specific damages that criminal acts cause them. Some of the many reasons that victims do not speak out publicly about this include being ashamed or shamed for this. But we believe that victims should not be shamed.
This video is today. This is a live stream today, chat.
And instead, those who committed the criminal acts against them should be ashamed and take responsibility for the harm that they have caused victims to suffer. We are very proud of Thalia for speaking out today in order to help victims of rape and other acts of sexual violence against them. In addition, we thank our co-counsel, Marianne Wang, Heather Gregoria, and Jasly Liriano for their exceptional legal work on this complaint. Our goal for Thalia is very simple. We want justice for her, and we are looking forward to winning it. It is long overdue for those who have caused her to suffer to be held accountable. All right, let me move over a little to the microphone.
Now we're hearing from Thalia. Let's go.
Okay, a little more. Thank you. There you go. Thank you. Yes.
The internal pain after being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault. It's a pain that reaches into your very core.
Does this woman have to keep her hand on her back and look at her like this? Again, I'm only talking about Gloria Allred. Is what Gloria Allred doing, like, is this necessary?
Of who you are and leaving emotional scars that may never fully heal. Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly. Being blamed, questioned, and threatened has often made me feel worthless, isolated, and sometimes responsible for what happened to me. My family issues made the pain even worse. I was already going through a divorce at the time of the assault and did not get the support.
Wait, she was married?
That I needed. I was also faced with disbelief and judgment. This has put a strain on my selection of men and relationships.
Did she just say this situation has prevented her from getting new niggas?
Where many relationships became aggressive and abusive, which has made me feel even more alone in my struggles. I go through spells of being distant and withdrawn that it's sometimes so hard to leave my house. The trauma of the assault has taken a toll on my mental health. I've had PTSD, depression, and anxiety. I'm emotionally scarred. It has been hard for me to trust others, to form healthy relationships, or even feel safe in my own skin. Flashbacks, nightmares, and intrusive thoughts make me feel like it's a constant struggle. I also suffer with physical problems such as chronic pain, sexual discomfort. The violation I have experienced during the assault has had lasting effects on my body.
So basically, if you guys don't know, Diddy got his 11th lawsuit. Again, these are civil suits. He has one criminal suit, which is a RICO charge and a sex trafficking and a transportation for prostitution criminal charge. So there's 3 counts. That's the only criminal charge he has. That's federal. He has 11 civil suits. Okay, one has been resolved. That's the Cassie joint. There's 10 open. A new one was filed today. It's done by a alleged victim named Thalia Graves. She showed up with someone that you might know from other, very high profile cases involving, women being taken advantage of, this and third. Gloria Allred announced the lawsuit, which was filed in federal court in the Southern District of New York, which is kind of fitting because he has a criminal case there. So they dropped their lawsuit there as well. And essentially, not only she talked about what they're suing for, they had the young woman or Mrs. Graves speak, and this is when she took the microphone. We're gonna let her speak, and then we're gonna get into the lawsuit. Okay, chat.
Yes. The internal pain after being sexually assaulted has been incredibly deep and hard to put into words. It goes beyond just physical harm caused by and during the assault. It's a pain that reaches into your very core of who you are and leaving emotional scars that may never fully heal. Some of the hardest parts of this pain are the shame and the guilt I have experienced that plays a negative part in my day-to-day ability to function properly. Being blamed, questioned, and threatened has often made me feel worthless, isolated, and sometimes responsible for what happened to me. My family issues made the pain even worse. I was already going through a divorce at the time of the assault and did not get the support that I needed. I was also faced with disbelief and judgment. This has put a strain on my selection of men and relationships.
To be also very clear, and I'm just only adding context here, and this is context without judgment. This is not my place to speak on if I believe her or if I don't believe her at this point. The event she's talking about happened in 2001, 23 years ago. And I will get into a little bit more details about the events after we listen to this young woman. But, you know, she's definitely, you know, emotionally recounting the situation. But for your knowledge, this happened in 2001.
Where many relationships became aggressive and abusive, which has made me feel even more alone in my struggles. I go through spells of being distant and withdrawn that it's sometimes so hard to leave my house. The trauma of the assault has taken a toll on my mental health. I've had PTSD, depression, and anxiety. I'm emotionally scarred. It has been hard for me to trust others, to form healthy relationships, or even feel safe in my own skin. Flashbacks, nightmares, and intrusive thoughts make me feel like it's a constant struggle. I also suffer with physical problems such as chronic pain, sexual discomfort. The violation I have experienced during the assault has had lasting effects on my body, causing ongoing health problems and complications. The combination of physical and emotional pain has created a cycle of suffering from which it is so hard to break free. I want to continue on this journey towards recovery and healing. I'm glad that he is locked up, but that's a temporary feeling of relief.
Thalia is not going to be taking any questions, but I'll be happy to take some questions.
Laura, can you talk about the context of this assault? What, where, when, what occasion?
The question is, can I speak about the context of this alleged assault? No.
Gloria, can you just speak on, I know it's difficult for your client going through this, but what prompted her to come forward now?
It was time to file this lawsuit.
Gloria, what do you know about the video that was allegedly recorded during the alleged violation?
Question is, what do I know about the video that was recorded?
Yeah, what do you know? Where is it now? Is it still? Where is the video?
Yeah. There are many details in the complaint. The complaint alleges that it was taken without her knowledge and consent, that she wouldn't have consented, that it was then published and viewed by others, and may still be out there being viewed.
Gloria, did the allegations in this complaint overlap in any way with the criminal charges against Mr. Combs?
The question is, does this complaint overlap with the criminal charges that have been filed? My understanding of the criminal charges are that the charges are sex trafficking, RICO, and transportation of a prostitute. We are not alleging any of those criminal charges in our complaint.
Has she been in touch with federal prosecutors at all?
Question is, have I been in touch?
Has you or your client been in touch with federal prosecutors about her allegations?
About this? I have no comment.
Gloria, what about a grand jury?
Pardon me?
Grand jury, federal prosecutors, or grand jury, has Ms. Graves spoke to either?
Is the question, has she testified before the grand jury? Is that the question?
Yes.
Let's put it this way. I never comment on whether any of my clients have testified before the grand jury or will testify before the grand jury, since the grand jury is a secret proceeding.
Gloria, this other defendant in the video, alleged defendant, is this a celebrity?
Is the other defendant alleged to be in the video, and what was the remainder of your question?
Is that person, that alleged defendant, is that person a celebrity?
Is the person that has not been named by me a celebrity? Not as far as I know.
Gloria, as disturbing as the video may be, have you yourself laid eyes on the video?
Have I looked at the video? No. I have not viewed the video, nor do I wish to view the video, nor should anyone else view the video, with the exception of if law enforcement and a court believe that they should and are permitted to view a pornographic video as evidence in the case. If they have it, then that would be it.
Gloria, just to be clear.
We don't ever view pornographic videos, even if they might end up being evidence in the case, and we do not transmit any such video, if we have it, to any other person, because we do not think it is permitted under the law.
Gloria, Elizabeth Wagmeister from CNN.
Would you please speak up? It's hard to hear you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm back here and a bit short. In the complaint, you noted that your client learned about this video in November 2023. That is around the time of the first public lawsuit, at least, against Sean Combs from his ex-girlfriend, Cassie. I'm curious how you and your client learned about the existence of this video.
And I'm wondering how this video, like in 2001, are there even, you can't record shit on your phone in terms of video, right? So there's a video of sex that happened in 2001. I would have to assume that it was probably a camcorder or some type of standalone camera device that recorded it. And subsequently, this must have been for, well, you'll see the allegations when I pull the lawsuit. This was part of Diddy's little war chest. Like Diddy was really, not war chest, but like this was like one of his freak tapes that he probably kept. I'm wondering how they got a hold of it.
Saying that this incident is alleged to have occurred about the time of another lawsuit having been filed? I'm sorry, I can't understand your question.
Per the complaint, this alleged incident occurred in 2001, but your client learned about the existence of the video in 2023, more than 20 years after. I'm curious how she learned about the existence of that video.
Yeah, so the question is, she alleges that the incident took place in 2001, but you are saying that it is alleged in the complaint that was filed that she learned about it in 2022. And then the question is, how did she learn about it? We have no comment in response to that question.
Gloria, has Diddy reached out to your client?
Excuse me?
Has Diddy reached out to your client?
Question is, has Diddy reached out to her? I think we will not comment on that either.
Gloria, I know this is very difficult for your client, but would you be able to share a little bit of her background? Where did she come from? Or what did she do? Can you give us some details about your client, please?
No, I can't provide further details about where she came from or what she does.
Gloria, to your knowledge, has any law enforcement agency reviewed this video for possible criminal charges?
So is the question, has any criminal law enforcement, has any law enforcement agency
viewed the video for possible criminal charges?
The video? I'm not able to answer that question.
All right. We're going to still finish the video. Let me just give you my thoughts. Again, these are only my thoughts. I'm going to be very respectful because I do want to, again, as with any civil case, these are allegations that will hopefully be argued in a court. But also the standard in that court is definitely different than a criminal court. Anyway, here's the point. This sounds like cap to me. I'm just be honest with you, bro. Like, I don't even got to, this sounds like cap to me, and I'm going to tell you why it sounds like cap to me. I'm going to be honest with you with all due respect, and I'm going to, again, let me finish first what I'm saying. Sounds like cap to me. The over dramatization, the extra crying, the thing happened like 23 years ago, and I'm not saying that it's impossible that this woman isn't triggered by the fact she has to recount a bad memory that allegedly happened 23 years ago in front of the press and the media. That's a very good possibility. The reason why it sounds like cap is not necessarily because of the young lady. It's because of really, I feel like there's just a lack of other information that I think at this point we're in the end game, right? We're not at the point where people are speculating about Diddy. So here's the thing. If most allegations, you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the victim at this point, right? Like, I know this whole innocent until proven guilty. Diddy has a criminal case, 11 allegations. So you want to give this woman the benefit of the doubt, and I am giving her the benefit of the doubt. The reason I'm saying this, Cap, is like, I don't expect her to answer questions, so let's take her out of it. But they're not giving us anything about this lawsuit. Like, again, we're in the end game, right? I mean, from the Little Rod lawsuit, who spelled out what he thought was going to be a RICO case, which eventually there was a RICO case. All these other people who have talked about law enforcement, it feels like they're very scarce with information, and I don't think that the scarcity of the information or the scarcity of answers for the questions that the people are asking them is because they're trying to protect the integrity of the case. It feels like, again, this is a gut test. It just doesn't feel like this lawsuit has too much. Now, if you ask me, did Diddy have sex with this woman? I think he did. Now, based on what we know about Diddy, do you think that could have been an abusive, sex trafficking, maybe assaultive type of sexual experience? Again, we're going off just history, and where there's smoke, there's fire. You can't rule that out. So you can't call her a liar necessarily. But this lawsuit just kind of also kind of reeks of. So you're telling me that you filed this lawsuit in the end game when you found out about it November 2023. Cassie's lawsuit drops then. He pays Cassie out. 9 other victims come forward. Then he gets criminal charges. And then when he's locked up for a week, I don't know. It stinks. But Diddy didn't do himself any favors. So we can't just say it's fully Cap. We have to say maybe the details of the lawsuit is trumped up. But it's one of those things where you have to be in the state of mind that if they said Diddy did it and Diddy was around those people, maybe the motherfucker did it. Truth be told. Anyway.
Your client says that she was threatened after this alleged attack. Can you elaborate on those threats?
Also, by the way, Gloria already a pro. Maybe she's dodging these questions intentionally, and maybe the feds have been in contact with this woman. I don't know, but she is being pretty vague.
Question is, can I elaborate on the allegation that she was threatened after the attacks? And no, because really I'm not able to comment on or expand upon any evidence or anything that might have evidentiary value at this time.
Gloria, there's an allegation in the lawsuit that the video was made available for sale. Can you elaborate on that? And was Mr. Combs released?
There's an allegation that the video was made available to whom?
For sale?
That was made available for sale.
Correct. Yeah. That's new. There have been other accusers, other women who have said that they believe they were filmed and that the videos were shared, but I think this might be the first complaint allegation that the video was made available for sale somehow.
I have not compared what we have alleged in the lawsuit to what others have previously alleged in their lawsuits. So I can't tell you whether this is the first that has alleged that this video was made available for sale or not.
Would Mr. Combs be involved in that alleged sale?
Yeah. There are no other details that we can provide in reference to the videos.
So you filed it today, right?
Yes, the lawsuit was filed this morning. And we have a case number, which I have provided, and we will pass around and provide my statement, which includes the case number. And this is part of the first page of the complaint. So you want to stand up and hold this? Are you okay? Want to stand up? Are you able to? And there is a redaction on what we're showing you. So just to tell you.
And to your right, please.
This is the first page in part and redacted.
Thalia, to your left, please.
Pardon me?
Thalia on your right, if you both can look this way. Thank you. Thank you. And right below her.
Oh, okay.
It's right ahead.
And one more this way, please.
And I'll leave this on the table afterwards.
Gloria, there's a few networks here that.
Right, attorney Gloria Allred there announcing that lawsuit that was just filed today with her client against Sean Diddy Combs. It looks like possible, maybe more questions. So let's listen in right here on Live Now.
Speak some Spanish. Would she be able to give us a few words in Spanish?
You speak Spanish?
How do I say what words?
Pardon me? No. No, she can't.
Please pronounce her name on camera just so we have the correct.
Do you want to pronounce her name?
Thalia Graves.
Okay, thank you.
Miss Gloria, are you in contact with the person who told your client about the video described in the lawsuit?
We cannot disclose who we're in contact with in order to have investigated this claim or any investigation that may ensue after this press conference.
Gloria,
I want to add that if any other person has any evidence that might relate to our complaint, we, of course, would be happy to speak on a confidential basis with any person who may wish to contact us and provide us whatever evidence they wish to provide, and we would thank them for it.
What the fuck? What was that?
And that he has been arraigned. Okay. Do you want to comment? Well, no, we're not having her comment. I'm sorry. I would say overall it's been a very stressful and anxiety-producing experience, and she's lived with all of it for many years and, is reliving it now. I think she did comment on how she felt about the criminal charges at the end of her statement, and I'm not going to ask her to answer any other questions. With all due respect, it's a fair question, but she's just not going to be answering questions today.
Gloria, can you tell us how your client came to meet Diddy?
How can I tell you how my client
met Diddy?
Met Diddy. I am not going to expand.
Oh my God, they're just not saying nothing. All right, let's get to the civil complaint. We got to hear people. Here's a civil complaint. I'm going to read through this and get through this quite expeditiously. Let's figure out what we need to figure out, okay? Cool. So this is, by the way, it's unredacted too. Apparently they redacted at first the head of security's name. The two people that are sued are Sean Combs and the head of security, allegedly. His name is Joseph Sherman. It's unredacted in the file version. Anyway, let's get to, and let me make this a little bit smaller that we could read through it. All right. So basically, in around the summer of 2001, the plaintiff's life was violently knocked off course when defendant Sean Combs and Joseph Sherman viciously R-worded her at the Bad Boy Studio in New York City. The plaintiff was 25 at the time. So let's do the math. She's 25 in 2001. We're now 23 years later. 25 then, 25 plus 23, that's 48. So she's 48 now. Okay, so she's 48 at the time. and she was dating one of Combs' employees, a relationship that Combs exploited to lure the plaintiff into meeting him and Sherman alone. Now, which Combs employee was she dating? Doesn't say. Hopefully they say later. Once they successfully sequestered the plaintiff, the Combs and his bodyguard gave her a drink. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is the problem with like when you get these mass lawsuits. And again, I don't want to invalidate anyone's story. Diddy's a piece of shit. At this point, we do have to just to be honest. We can't say nobody's lying. We can't be like, oh, there's a money grab. This guy just he might have done all this shit, so we can't even shoot him any bail. But these stories are eerily similar, and they're either, you know, when it comes to like civil suits, sometimes you just copy what the last person said, right? Or maybe that's just Diddy's MO. Now, I keep hearing, even when they sued her son, you hear there's a laced drink. Now, granted, here's the thing too. There's no way to test if this is a thing, right? Like, we can't prove 23 years later if you got a drink laced. But anyway, unless you went to the police afterwards. Anyway, once sequestered, they gave her a drink, likely laced with a drug that eventually caused her to briefly lose consciousness. She awoke to find herself bound and restrained. Combs and Sherman proceeded to brutally sexually abuse and violate the plaintiffs. Combs mercilessly R-worded her anally and vaginally. Sherman forcefully slammed the plaintiff onto a table, slapped her, repeatedly thrust his penis in her mouth. Both men were undeterred by the plaintiff's cry for help during the attack. Plaintiff never recovered from the defendant's violent R-word. She has suicidal thoughts and ideation and has received extensive psychological treatment because of the defendant's attack. For that case, she remained silent and did not report the crime out of fear the defendants would use their power to ruin her life, as they repeatedly, explicitly threatened to do. To this day, plaintiffs suffer from severe depression, anxiety, and panic attacks, and still lives in fear of the defendants. Any progress plaintiff has made in healing from the attack over the years was dramatically reversed around November 27, 2023, when she learned for the first time that Diddy and the guy had video recorded the horrific R-worded event 22 years before, and has shown the video to multiple men seeking to publicly degrade and humiliate both the plaintiff and her boyfriend. Plaintiff could not believe the defendant would record themselves committing such gruesome crime, and then proceed proudly to widely disseminate the recording of it. She was distraught and sunk into a deep depression. She again considered ended her life. The action seeks redress for the defendant's brutalizing, misogynistic, and violent attacks on the plaintiff, started in 2001 with the grape, and continuing in the subsequent years as they compounded her humiliation by showing the video of the assault to others. The plaintiff is a female who resides in Harris County, Texas, pretty much Houston. Defendant Sean Combs is a male, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. This is just describing the guy. And then this is the defendant Joseph Sherman. Big Joe is a male who, on information and belief, resides in Westchester County. Upon information and belief, he was employed by Combs during that period. The facts, okay, yeah, okay. All right, so that's the bodyguard. They're talking about all the defendants, which are his companies at that point. So let's skip. Jurisdiction and venue, we can skip that. Factual allegations, the plaintiff immigrated to New York City when the plaintiff was a teenager in connection with her mother's work. Her family ultimately settled in Regal Park, where she completed her education. Combs was known by the name Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, Puffy, Diddy, Brother Love, or Love is a prominent rapper. Okay, we know all that. All right, they owned fashion line Sean John, Ciroc, cable media company Revolt, as detailed below. He has and this is where these civil suits always do. They piggyback off other civil suits in a sense. They're like, he has a long history of violence and abusing and R-word in women. Again, that history would have only been documented via civil lawsuits that have been filed, which are allegations. And there have been several civil lawsuits filed against Combs in the past year alleging sexual violence and abuse. On September 16, 2024, Combs was arrested. They're just the same factual stuff. Okay. Defendant Sherman was also known as Big Joe. He was employed by Combs as his bodyguard and head of security during the relevant time period described herein and served in various roles in the Combs Corporation. He was the founder of Rhymes and Dimes magazine Inc., a New York State registered corporation, and through or in connection with the company produces and distributes pornography. Upon information, okay, Jesus Christ. Okay, so back to 2001, the plaintiff receives a call from Combs concerning her boyfriend's employment at Bad Boy. Okay, that's a little bit odd. If your boyfriend is working for Diddy, why would Diddy call you? But okay, let's see if that happened. He told her he wanted to meet with her in person to discuss her boyfriend's supposed performance issues. That's a little bit odd. If I'm working for if say my girlfriend's working for some company, why would I get a call about her performance? But whatever, cool. Her boyfriend was determined to climb up the ladder at Combs' record label, and as his romantic partner, the plaintiff was committed to helping him. The plaintiff agreed to meet with Combs. In retrospect, it was evident a sick and twisted way of using his ownership and title at Bad Boy and the affiliate entities to abuse the plaintiff and show his power and ability to humiliate her boyfriend, his executive. Okay, never mind. So an executive at the time was her boyfriend. Let's see if we could figure out who that was. Thalia Graves' boyfriend. Who's her boyfriend? They don't name the executive. Okay. We'll hopefully find out. All right, cool. A few hours later, Combs arrived at the plaintiff's mother's residence. Why would you go to your executive's girlfriend's mother's house if you had no relationship with her? That's odd. A few hours later, Diddy goes to the plaintiff's mother's residence in Queen with Sherman, his bodyguard, who was employed at the time. He was driving an SUV and Combs was in the back seat. After the plaintiff entered the vehicle, I guess she hopped in the vehicle, Combs offered her a glass of wine. She accepted. Combs began to discuss the alleged concern about her boyfriend's performance at work. Meanwhile, the plaintiff drank what had been handed to her. She started to feel a little bit lightheaded, dizzy, and physically weak. In retrospect, it's clear that Combs had caused a drug to be put in the plaintiff's drink, as a few sips of wine had never impacted her that way. Combs and Sherman drove the plaintiff to Bad Boy Studio in Manhattan. When they arrived, and plaintiff tried to get out the car, she realized she was feeling odd and found it difficult to walk. She assumed this was her fault and did her best to act normal and follow Combs as he led her to a couch in a private room in the Bad Boy Studio. She came to understand this was Combs' personal lounge and office in Bad Boy Studio. Combs sat on the couch next to the plaintiff and continued to speak into her. Plaintiff began feeling more woozy and sedated. She lost consciousness. When she regained consciousness, she was naked and her hands were tied behind her with what felt like a plastic grocery bag. She shouted for help. In response, Sherman lifted her up from the couch and forcefully slammed her face on what was apparently a pool table. Shortly after, Combs entered the room naked. Combs reached for a container of lubricant that smelled like menthol and proceeded to apply to his penis. He then bent the plaintiff over the table, causing her feet to dangle above the floor, forcefully held her down, and anally penetrated her without consent. Okay. Plaintiff is 4'11" and weighed only 103 pounds at the time. The plaintiff was unable to move, totally overpowered physically, in addition to being drugged and bound. The plaintiff screamed out in pain, but Combs continually to violently, anally R-word her. He easily physically overpowered her, smashing her head down on the pool table while she futilely tried to wiggle out from underneath him. During the brutal attack, the plaintiff vomited in her mouth and on the table. At one point, she involuntarily defecated. Combs was undeterred. He wiped himself off. So I guess she shit on his dick? What? He wiped himself off, applied more lubricant, and without any acknowledgement of the plaintiff's distress, proceeded to vaginally penetrate the plaintiff. The plaintiff experienced intense pain and burning sensation in her vagina and anus. The plaintiff continued to scream for help because of the extreme pain as she felt Combs penetrating her over and over. She lost consciousness again. The next time she regained consciousness, the plaintiff was on the couch and Sherman was standing in front of her with his bare penis in her face. Sherman slapped the plaintiff in her face and forcefully inserted his penis in her mouth. Sherman slapped her yet again and continued to thrust his penis in the plaintiff's mouth. Plaintiff once again lost consciousness. When she awoke, plaintiff was on the couch naked and alone in the room. Plaintiff was in severe pain and distress. Her anus and vagina burned, her face and wrists were bruised, and her genital area smelled strong of menthol. She felt a liquid, presumably semen, dripping from out inside of her. Her dress was thrown over to her, her purse was on the couch next to her, and her bra was on the floor nearby. She did not see her underpants. Terrified that Combs and Sherman would return, she quickly got dressed and bolted out the studio where she had been R-worded. Still dizzy and weak, the plaintiff called a driver, a cab driver, that her family regularly hired and knew well. The driver picked her up from outside the Bad Boy studio. She was disheveled, crying uncontrollably, and suffering from agonizing pain. The driver drove her to a hospital and tried to convince her to report the R word and get a R kit, but she was unable to leave the car, shaking and crying hysterically, and was terrified of what Combs would do to her and her family if she reported him. Now this is the aftermath. They sustained serious physical injuries after the R word. As noted, she had burn in her vagina and anus, bruising on her wrist and face, and in the days after the assault, she suffered from prolonged anal bleeding and hemorrhoids. Because of Combs' power and notoriety, the plaintiff was afraid to report what had happened. She was involved in a contentious divorce and custody battle at the time, and feared that the report in the R word could cause her to lose custody of her young child. I'm trying to make sense of this. So she has a husband, but she's divorcing a husband, and then she's dating a guy who works at Diddy's. The dude works at Diddy's Bad Boy Records label, and then even after that, she still hung out with Diddy alone. Whatever. All right, cool. The plaintiff confided in her boyfriend, Combs' employee, hoping that he would comfort and support her, but instead of supporting her and discourage her from disclosing the assault, telling her it could negatively impact his own career. She has to name this guy. Name the guy. So you're saying, just think about it, Chad. Your girlfriend comes to you and tells you your boss just sexually assaulted her, and you tell her, shut up. Don't say nothing. Then, not only is your boyfriend protecting this guy who did some shit to you, you're protecting him 23 years later by not naming him in the lawsuit so far. Following the assault and multiple times over the year, both Combs and Sherman contacted the plaintiff and warned her to be silent, threatening repercussions, including plaintiffs potentially losing custody of her child or her son if she ever discussed the assault. Because of their enormous power in the industry, including the ownership and positions at Combs corporations, plaintiff knew if they could follow through with their threats. Plaintiff told the close friends that Diddy and Sherman had drugged and R-worded her, but as noted, was scared to report to the police out of fear that the defendants would follow through on their threats. She was even afraid to stay in New York City while Combs lived there. So with the help of a friend, she fled to Pennsylvania. Plaintiff has, in fact, relocated multiple times throughout the years in an effort to stay away from Combs. The plaintiff has suffered irreparable harm because of the brutal R word by defendant Combs, and Sherman. She suffers from severe depressions and post-traumatic stress disorder. She has also suffered from suicidal ideation and intrusive thoughts and has attempted to end her life. Plaintiff has lives constantly in fear. She struggles with hypervigilance and experiences anxiety and panic attacks in social settings. Preferring to be alone, her need to hide to feel safe has strained her relationships with friends and family. The R word has impacted the plaintiff's ability to engage in sexual acts with her intimate partners. To this day, she cannot be in certain sexual positions without experiencing flashbacks of Combs violently penetrating her from behind. The plaintiffs now learn about that the R-word video was being seen and published. On around November 27, 2023, all trauma of the R-word came flooding back when the plaintiff and her boyfriend, to the plaintiff, one of her former boyfriend revealed to her for the first time that Combs and Sherman had recorded and published a video of the horrific attack. Earlier that month, Cassie had come forward and filed a lawsuit against Combs for blah, blah, blah. The case had been settled, wait. But sometime after the actual R-word itself, Combs and Sherman actually showed him and a group of men, some of who was employed by Combs, a video that the plaintiff being R-worded. Yeah, chat. I'm trying to make sense of this, but she's saying that, you know, in Cassie's lawsuit, I think she did allege that Diddy would show off videos of him having sex with women, and I guess she's saying that Cassie's lawsuit is proof that around that time, which I think they put an arbitrary date, because I think when Cassie files, it doesn't mean that that's when Diddy showed off the video. It just means that maybe that's when she has learned about that as per the complaint, right? Anyway. A Bad Boy artist later corroborated in a text message to Sherman saying, yo, used to sell porn of him doing this to chicks, and Sherman did that to a lot of women. Plaintiff's former boyfriend reported that he and other men watched the recording of the plaintiff's R-word. Wow, what boyfriend would watch their girl getting R-worded on a video and not do nothing? Ugh. But the plaintiff's former boyfriend watched the video with other men, on a handheld camera while at Bad Boy Studio in New York. Sherman and Combs and some of the other men made derogatory comments about the former boyfriend's relationship with the plaintiff in an attempt to shame and into cutting ties with the plaintiff to cause her further emotional harm and embarrassment. So they were slut shaming, or they were shaming the boyfriend and say, yo, bro, how could you wife up a girl like this? On information, believed that the defendants continued to show the video of the R-word over the years to the present and sold the videotape possibly. The plaintiff was shocked and horrified that Combs and Sherman had recorded and publicized a video of them R-wording her after 2 decades of trying to spend time, heal, and distance herself from the experience. She was devastated by the news. She felt as if her life had been turned upside down again. And like the R-word had been happening again and again, even if she was trying to forget it. She experienced acute psychological distress, plunging into a deep depression, having suicidal ideations. She felt, okay, cool. They then name all the other women who's filed lawsuits. I think this is Cassie, Joy Dickerson, Liza Garden. Then who is this? This is Jane Doe. So that's 4. Lil Rod, 5. Crystal McKinney, 6. Andrea English, 7. Dawn, 8. And obviously there were a few others that just wasn't following that precinct, including that guy who fought from jail. Remember that? Anyway. They talk about his arrest. Yeah, bro, I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I don't know, bro. I don't know. But here's the thing, man. Diddy has put himself in a pickle, pause, that we cannot Ooh, let me get my email off of that. We cannot vouch for this guy. And we have to assume that if something was alleged, he more than likely did it. Or if he knew the woman, maybe he had some type of freaky, kinky sex with this person that she could misinterpret to be something else. So, hey, obviously the press conference, I think, was over the top. I think that was to give some shock value to make all type of news. Her crying, you could be like, yo, how are you crying 23 years after the fact? I'm not going to use that against her because, think about it. Hey, she has to recount all those events. Now, the story doesn't sound like the greatest story if you're trying to just make sense of it. What guy watches a video of his girlfriend getting R-worded, even by your boss, but whatever. So we're going to see what happens with this, if it goes to court indeed, or if it gets tossed, right? We do have an update on Diddy here. Check this out.